The entrance to the Idol temple opens, and the voices of its visitors echo inside, down the stairs to the undercroft, where a group of battle-ridden companions stifle into silence.
These two groups, strangers to one another, seek the same answers. And with those answers, they hope to save not only the city of Scanthale, but all of Arendor itself.
The first of them, exhausted from their impossible fight against one of the oldest of creatures, regroup beneath the temple to share what they've learned.
The second returns from a jailbroken prison to the master of the temple, who allows their questions but denies them rest.
Nearly met, but not quite. These two groups of would-be heroes must decide which thread to pull on next.
This is Tabling the Narrative, our very own podcast where we peel back the layers of a narrative to get to the beating, bleeding heart of it all. With the help of our sponsor, World Anvil. We're your hosts. I'm Jen.
And I'm Sage. And I'm sure that you can guess that today we're going to continue our study of an ongoing narrative that is near and dear to both me and Jen. And yes, I'm talking about our Daggerheart actual play series, Oathfire, which Jen and I are both playing characters in Team 1.
Looking behind the scenes of a campaign that we're both a part of never gets old to me. You'd think we would know everything about Oathfire by now, but this is one rabbit hole that just keeps getting deeper the more you fall into it.
And that's exactly what we're doing today. We're going to start off with some cast-chosen highlights of the most memorable moments of our most recent sessions, and continuing with a closer look at the cast and characters.
After that, we've got an upcoming interview with our GM Ghost, followed by an in-depth review of the scenes from the last sessions that made Oathfire more than just a story.
Then we'll get a little bit more into the lore and then finish off with some words from our cast.
But first, let's get into Castlights and take a look at some specific moments that our beloved cast chose.
All right, so the first one I'm going to mention is a scene in the cold open of Team 1's most recent sessions. One of Gein's crew members, Frogar, played by our lovely GM Ghost, had to tell a story. Ghost chose him as the best storyteller for this and was using his frog voice the entire time of this story.
Frogar, Croakswell, stands up and he's like, excuse me, everybody, if you could, direction here, we have an opportunity to travel to a very special place where there's mystery and magic. Yeah, and pirates, because we're in the pirate ship. Long before the Varicose Isles were known for pirates and free captains and hidden coves and, storm-bound trading routes, there was a radiant oceanic empire that spread across the waters. I can't believe I have to do this whole thing in his voice.
You could have been the turtle, but I love it. Please.
It was not just one kingdom, but 3.
But it was so funny. I love that.
He let Fargrim choose who was going to tell the story? It's his own fault.
We also had in Team 1 a more kind of serious moment at the very end of the session from Shurian, played by Aaron. They were just some words of the heart of his character, very genuine.
Shurian, uncharacteristically, I look very nervous. He puts his spoon down on the table. We have an old saying in Corvallis. You don't really know someone until you've fought with them. It's a good saying, and it rings true. It's one of the few things in my homeland that still does. Now we've fought together. In many ways, there's no greater bond than those forged in battle. These dire events on our horizon, they will try us, and they will seek to break us. But to know that our new bond can never be taken by anyone in this world, or, he looks over at M, or in the next. What I want you all to know is that until yesterday, I had been dead, in a manner of speaking. I did not expect to find anything here in this city worth protecting. I was wrong. You did not save my life yesterday. You gave it back to me. And so I want to give you something. I have studied as much as I could about the old ones, and I learned of a gift that is given to warriors who have shared victory against a great foe. And he pulls out crudely carved their whistles, and they have little cords on them. And I carved these myself while you were all busy. This is the last bit of Corvallian heartwood that I brought with me. The cord is fashioned from my cape. It's wool from my home in Stormcrown, and each are etched with a different saying written in the old Corvallian runes. It's said that blowing it will summon the spirits of the greatest warriors to your side and aid you in your most dire battle. Now, I am no magician. This is simply wood and wool, but my friends, if you blow it and I hear it, I will come to you and I will fight by your side once more.
That whole scene was just spectacular.
I agree. And I think it was like the heartwood from his homeland or something.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And it was the last of it that he had. So,
Yeah. So all of these cast lights are handpicked by our Oathfire cast. And for me, at least, I like getting to see which things in each session really stuck out to all of us.
It's funny that you say that, actually, about the things that stick out to all of us, because I think the next part of our podcast is really about putting the focus on us and our characters and what doesn't necessarily stick out to us.
Like Jen said, this next part of our podcast, character development, is really about, I would say, looking deeper into the story by getting to know the cast and our characters too, because it's the little things that matter in stories like this, right?
Let's jump right on into character development. All right, so this time we are paying attention to one person from Team 1 and one from Team 2. All right, so Sage, you were the one I chose. Sage and your character M. The first question is, what is your favorite animal? For you, Sage, it's cats, and you have 3 of them.
This is very true. I'm 100% a cat person.
I think that I am a cat person too. I just am not allowed to be. Anyways, so your character's favorite animal, frogs for sure, ever since they found Maxwell.
Yeah, so I don't know if this story has been shared anywhere. So my character M was a child that I played in the Festival of Light and Sky, and in the connection questions for my Daggerheart character creation was like, what little pet do you keep with you? And so I came up with this very short story that a very young childhood M was wandering into a crypt that they should not have been wandering into, and just found this tiny, adorable frog that they named Maxwell, and is surprisingly very old now. And they've just like carried it around with them ever since. So anyway, I was like, this is a one-shot character. It's not going to come up. Another question for me was, what hobby am I into right now? In writing. Always. I don't really talk about it a lot, but I'm like obsessed with writing. It's like my one passion in life. Another question for M is, what is a skill that your character is proud of that might be surprising? And obviously for M, I said singing. They were in a choir as a kid, because in the Festival of Light and Sky, M is a choir kid.
Yeah,
like
it
that's
was like the dawn something. All right, so our player and our player character from Team 2 is Christian and Dipper. And we asked, what is your favorite color? For Christian, it is green. And for Dipper, it is green. But he gave a reasoning why for Dipper. It reminds them of Meadowlark, aka their apple.
So why is it not red?
Some apples are green, Sage. I know you don't like green apples.
Yeah, I forgot they existed.
Yeah.
I just removed them from my mind entirely. We also asked Christian, what would your dream vacation consist of? And his single word answer was Japan.
Yeah, I get it.
We asked him, what is your character's biggest pet peeve? And he said mean people, which is actually so cute and definitely true of Dipper.
Yeah, it makes 100% like sense. It's good. And with that last question answered, we're going to close out our character development for now and open up another discussion with Oathfire's GM, Ghost.
But before that, Jen, we were just talking about the little details behind our characters and how those little details really matter, right? And this reminded me of our sponsor, World Anvil, because they have an entire website dedicated to helping you sort out the little things.
And it's not just little character things like we were talking about, but details about key moments, entire stories, or even entire worlds.
Yeah, honestly, worldanvil.com is a life-changing resource when it comes to world building and story building. It's kind of an all-in-one tool set for, yes, character creation, but also for lore and settings and timelines and maps. And you can even actually design these in World Anvil so that they are interactive or interconnected.
World Anvil is a perfect match for writers, game masters, and really anyone who enjoys world building or role-playing games in general.
And because of that, worldanvil.com annual memberships are now 51% off if you use our code Ghostlight.
There's a link right down in the description below if you would like to check it out, and I highly recommend that you do.
Now, like Chin said earlier, we are going to take the spotlight from character development to go under the table for an interview with our GM, Ghost. Well, once again, welcome back, Ghost. The first question I have for you is really a million questions wrapped into one, which is, we are almost a third of the way through Oathfire according to what is scheduled and planned. So how are you feeling about the progression for Oathfire so far?
No, I think things are progressing pretty well. I realize that this story, on its face is pretty convoluted. So I'm looking forward to this aha moment that's going to make things start to paint the bigger picture at a much larger scale. And so that's been fun for me, especially with dealing with the two teams. It's just kind of playing with who knows what. And like also knowing full well that you're watching each other's sessions. Like, I know that you know some stuff, but your characters don't know. So towing that line of like, do you understand the mystery? Do your characters understand the mystery? That's been a lot of fun for me. So you're getting all of these little pieces, which I love that we're getting there now where you're getting these pieces.
Yeah, no, I was just curious because I feel like that from playing in the Shattered God to playing in Oathfire, it is a little bit different in terms of like you have two different teams. We're working with obviously an entirely different plot, but almost an entirely different genre of like style of the way that the game is just structured in the first place with this whole like mystery and the investigation that we're doing. So that's why I was curious, is because it's a lot different, I feel like, from what we've done before.
Yeah, we're very much like complete the task, find the bad guy, punch the bad guy. Now you're a little bit more on your back foot because you are accused of a crime. Like, we're exploring this large city and there's all these things you could do, but you're all fugitives. So you can't just like go shopping.
So I have another question for you. This is a little bit less expansive. When you planned for the cold open in Team 1, have you already planned to show Meadowlark and Dipper's missing child at the end?
Yeah. I think one of the biggest challenges when trying to start to write the sessions for this, or just the overall like story beats, I knew what I wanted kind of vaguely. But I really wanted this whole story to be born out of the backstories that the players provided. So everyone has way more, backstory and drama and plot, but those one page narratives were key for me to try to draw these threads and pull them together. So there are themes within everyone's stories that they just naturally kind of came up with, because everyone likes their TTRPG characters to be like horrifically tragic and whatnot.
I've made happy ones before.
Sure, just not this time. So it's really trying to find what's the common thread. Like, are these 10 people who happen to be at the same place at the same time as a coincidence, or is there some sort of a thread that ties them together? With that in mind, like, you need to let some of it cook, right? As you all are role playing and presenting your characters to the stream and to the world, like letting those past traumas sort of come to the surface, let them be mentioned a few times. I knew that I wanted Geen to be a unwilling participant.
Yeah.
So it's a matter of, will they ever find that out? I don't know. We'll see. But I think it's one of those things where I know that these characters have these like really pressing personal missions. So it's a matter of bringing those personal missions central to the story. So those two characters, Dipper and Meadowlark, while they're getting pulled into all this scroll drama, like still probably at the forefront of their mind is like, where's my kid? So starting to bring that into the mystery was important, especially for the players, wondering what the motivation for their characters might be once they start to get that sense. And we're getting some of that from Dipper and his connection to divine entities of sorts.
Funny you should say that.
It's going to tee that right up for you.
Slightly related, can you tell us any more information about Nathaniel Carvos that wasn't mentioned in Team 2's session? For example, you dropped this huge thing about Nixarath having been returned at the very end of the Shattering, and obviously Raish shared this story in Team 2 session.
I think I told you initially when we talked about the whole Dipper of it all, when we started this off, I rolled to see who that little extra, what that thing was that came back with him. And it came back as Nixarath. And I thought, like, that's too obvious. And I wanted to let it kind of simmer and kind of get a sense of what Christian was giving me as far as like the voices he was hearing. And he was hearing like a kind of a mixed, right? Like he was hearing anger, he was hearing warmth. And so the more I thought about it, I started thinking specifically about Echo and what Echo's wish was, right? And Echo wanted anyone who died from the Shattering to be able to come back in whatever form they felt truest. And so really examining some of what has happened in the past. The Shattered God was on Arendor, fell from the sky, landed and was dormant here, and was probably having long-lasting effects well into the history of this place. So looking at somebody like Nathan Carvos, who was this Corvallian general who was just really good at what he does, war, and him getting this name Nixarath, which was bringer of death in Orcish, and him really owning that and being responsible for this like horrible tragedy. And then realizing that like his story mirrors Dipper's in such a way, his child is missing. And so how could that, if that person clung to Dipper, who is in a very similar situation, how might that person feel? How might that entity inside Dipper feel? So I think that there's some interesting story to see there, because I think one of the biggest and most important parts of that was it's not Nixarath that's within Dipper, it's Nathan Carvos. And Christian said it beautifully, like he feels like there's somebody who can be redeemed in there. So maybe it is this mortal soul who's just trying to find his way back.
I thank you for answering my questions. It's a skill of mine to make them complicated, apparently. I'm going to turn this back over to you, Jen, so you can interrogate Ghost a little more.
Aaron wanted to know, how do you prep for multiple distinct voices, like Olive Gein's crew, the passengers? He said that they felt like fully realized people. And it was all done through voice acting. And he wants to know if you have any tips.
I don't. I think at some point I was like, oh, they should sound like this. But now I'm like, oh, I forgot about them. They're going to sound like this. And then sometimes I have trouble remembering what voice I gave them. Like, I don't even know how many voices Issa has had at this point. I wish there was more prep that went into these things, but.
Okay. So from Sage, what exactly happened to the trident? Is it like a relic similar to the ones that are being brought?
You gave it to Fargrim, and Fargrim, as far as I know, gave it to a quartermaster. Where it actually is, I don't know. But we did state in the session that it was the folklore of it is that it's imbued with the power of Raziel. So it would, in fact, be a relic.
Were there gods before the old gods? And had the elements ever had gods associated with them?
If memory serves, I think the last pilgrimage shed some light on that. So if you remember, Jen, all of the panels in the temple.
Oh yeah.
They tell a story, and part of like what you had to do was like light the torches in certain sequence. I was trying to like force feed you lore. Part of that was what came before the old gods. Like, it's not just like, oh, we created a bunch of monsters and now it's Naruthir. There was a whole different thing, and it was all very elemental based initially. So you have these like very primordial forces that were existing in the world back then.
I'm curious about something.
Okay.
Did you originally intend Taz to like be close to Issa or know Issa? Was that something that you just like came up with on the spot? Because I remember in that session, Ballo was like looking into Taz's surface thoughts. Is it something you just like made up?
Yeah, Taz didn't exist before that session. He was just, they're like, there could be someone else here. And I was like, oh, crap. So he just kind of came to be. And then it felt like, what would be the motivation of somebody in prison? Like, you just want to you've lost everything. And the only thing keeping you going is probably getting back to the person you love. Well, we're going to make up another NPC or attach it to somebody who we know. Issa made the most sense. This sort of cold woman all alone on, which I hinted at before of like how she was just excited someone was making her tea. Yeah. She's lonely, right? So she found some companionship in this someone she respected, this grand archivist.
It's actually just so sweet.
Moment on the fly. We just make this little old couple.
That's so cute. I'm going to be heartbroken if something happens to them now. They're like our grandparents. They're like the elderly couple next door that you bring cookies to and invite them for dinner. Like,
hey, bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Okay, bye. I love Ghost. And also the fact that he lets us keep calling him Ghost, even though his name is Pete.
I'm pretty sure that you're the one that decided that.
What do you mean? It was a mutual decision, okay? And also it just makes sense considering he's Ghost. And this is tabling the narrative of Ghostlight Digital Studios.
Okay, no offense, but we're just going to skip right over the rest of whatever this part is here, and we're going to continue on with the podcast.
Jen, why didn't you say that sooner? I'm just kidding. Coming up next is Scene Study, where we have some very important scenes to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to first talk about Team 1 and Team 2's cold open and just mention a specific detail. In this cold open, it's me, Em, and Fargrim playing Geen, and we are on Geen's ship. We dock at the Dracarn shore. We end up encountering this draconian female wearing dark robes. Now, the refugees that are draconian refugees or other types of refugees going to Dracarn are kind of guided by these handlers. So they disembark and the refugees leave with the Dracona. They give Geen like this bag of gold for taking them across the aisles and delivering the refugees. So here's the part that's interesting. The Dracona that I mentioned gives her name as the archivist Nolvera. She mentions that Cassian Virel III, the emperor, which I believe is the father of the current emperor that was just murdered, right? Yep. And opening up the doors. So during all of this, we see this older giant woman holding the hand of a young boy. His hood is up. He's being ushered out by the Dracona. He has this small wooden toy, a figure, looks almost like a furbolg. And he drops it as they disembark. So I have Em just rush out, try to give him the toy. The handler turns really swiftly at first, very cautious and alert, and then just relaxes as Em gives him back the toy. This is the part that's really creepy. So this little boy looks like he's dark-haired, starry-eyed, half elf, half furbolg, okay? And he just looks very blank, really distraught, super out of it, for some unknown reason. And as the Dracona, kind of like hands the boy the toy from Em, she tells him to tell me thank you and let's be on our way. So the boy says in this monotone voice, thank you and let's be on our way. The other thing is, this is the description of Meadowlark and Dipper's kids, characters from Team 2. So before we get into our other like tie-in to Nolvera from Team 2's cold open, what are your thoughts on this, Jen?
My thoughts are, if you go look at the cold open, you'll see me like...
And he appears to be this dark-haired, big starry-eyed, half elf, half furbog boy. And he looks very blankly. He seems distraught, maybe, or...
Like, actually, I don't even know if it was all of us on the screen at that time, but like halfway through what Sage just finished explaining, I noticed, like, they were talking about young boy holding a furball figurine. Like, right then I was like,
yeah,
I was like, no way. I was like, because, you know, whenever you're in a campaign like this, right, with friends that you've had for a while, friends that you're kind of starting to get to know, and you're working with different people, and it's a big community, and you've like done one shots on different channels and things, you get to know people, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, but my friends, that's my friends, like player, like characters, like friend, like son, you know, and I'm just like, God, I'm like, I want to tell them, are they there? Are they in chat? You know, like,
yeah.
That's what I felt about it in the moment. Because there was obviously the importance of the sheer fact that your character, and Fargrim have encountered North and other refugees that were brought to Drakarn.
Which is relevant.
Yeah.
You really should just follow along with Oathfire.
Yes, it is relevant. You haven't
The
been
refugees.
checking out the episodes.
Yeah.
Why are you watching us right now? Go watch that and then come back.
So I want to stress that in this cold open, right, the leader of these Draconian who were taking the refugees and leading them once we docked was the archivist Nolvera. Okay? And in Team 2's cold open, this cold open takes us back to the council chambers inside the Imperium of Scaranthale, where all of the representatives of the different kingdoms who were attending the Second Accords are gathered. In this, right, we learn, and this is relevant, okay? We learn that the Grand Archmage Varix Malthoros is now the acting Imperial Regent. We learn that the Grand Archivist Nolvera, okay, really quickly, she moved from Archivist to Grand Archivist. And also, she's here, okay? So in this encounter, the Grand Archivist Nolvera, again, the literal person who had Dipper and Meadowlark's child North, okay, and Team 1's cold open, kind of intercedes in some of these discussions. She's trying to convince the group of certain things. I didn't catch absolutely everything, but she was casting suspicion on the Grand Archmage Varix, because he's serving in the Emperor's place right now, while they send word to the Emperor's sister, the next in line. But she is casting doubt on him because he was previously set to retire, and clearly has an ulterior motive to me, right? She also has these pressing, kind of agreeing with, I think it was the council member, the NPC you played, Jen, that the Accords are, it's not best for them to stay in Scaranthale, but to build them in a new location. There are other details in this cold open. Obviously, please go watch the full sessions of Oathfire if you haven't already. There's so many little details coming together here, but I thought this was pretty interesting.
Yeah, I hope we learn more about, like, where those refugees went, because I'm just saying, like, if they're all still together, then North is there.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I don't. Question mark here. So let me just put that on the corkboard there. Where is North now? And what in the world do they need him for?
Yeah.
Like, did he have a purpose? Like, he had his own handler from, if I remember correctly. The other people, the other refugees were just kind of ushered together. He had his own personal handler. So it makes me feel like there's some sort of connection he has to some other realm or something, which would make sense with Dipper and how he is to... Where did Dipper go randomly again? Where he's like elf plus a little extra and he came back from it. Where is that? Anyways, sorry, we'll have to table that for another time because I just thought about this.
Yeah, no, I just think it's significant. It's a important scene to mention because we have so many connections going on and so many little details. And to me, Nolvera was this hint. There's this discussion going on about the Primarch of Ash, which are Dracona supremacists. And there's this claim that they are an organization that has infiltrated all branches of the Dracarnian government. And so it's interesting to me because Nolvera is the Grand Archmage as of now, to the point that she's in the council chambers with the representatives of the kingdoms and is discussing and attempting to persuade and convince them of certain things. So it makes me wonder about the possible connection between those two things. I think it gives us a little bit more information about like, yeah, okay, there definitively is some action going on right there in the council chambers, in the government directly involved with the aftermath of the Emperor's murder and the scrolls theft. There are so many other scenes in Team 1 and Team 2. Like, I really encourage you to go watch it. These last sessions, there was a discussion of Team 1 between characters about, okay, what leads do we follow? Team 2 took the jailbroken prisoner Taz back to the Idolinare Temple, just barely missing Team 1, who was literally downstairs in the same location. And they were also discussing their next steps and made a next step. Yeah, please go watch the sessions.
yeah, please do. So many good moments and details that we just don't have time to cover.
I know we are just totally hypnotized by the depths of all of these scenes. And yeah, they are good ones. But this is me snapping my fingers and bringing us back to the narrative of this podcast.
You say that, but I know you're still thinking about that last segment a little bit.
You know, Jen, I was nearing the point of successfully moving on from it until you said that.
Well, continue moving on from it because we are moving into our next segment, The Archive, for another look at important lore of Arendor.
So I'm gonna talk about I think we're gonna share a particular story from Team 2 that also was a story present in one of the group action role one-shots, as well as back in The Shattered God. And this is a story about Nathaniel Carvos, who was also Nixarath, the god of chaos in The Shattered God. So, Team 2 with Dipper meets up with Raish Thauris. And Raish tells him a story about Nathaniel Carvos. So to backtrack a little bit, right? What we learned in the very first session of The Shattered God, right? Raish mentions Nixarath as the first great sin of the divine. He shares almost exactly what he does with Team 2. This is the very opening kind of scene of The Shattered God. he mentions Nixrath's involvement with the genocide of the orcs, the Veil Moon, this foreign entity, which we learn is the Shattered One, that was set on freeing Nixrath. Talking about Aaron remaining silent, Aaron the god, right? Which we later learn is because he's guarding the gate to Narathir. In session 2 of the Shattered God, I think it's Raish who mentions Nixrath as immortal, who we now know is Nathaniel Carvos. So this is what Raish tells Team 2. Nathaniel Carvos was a human general, and when he was at war with the orcs, he was especially brutal. There was a moment during the war where he had them on the run. He planned this horrific attack where he leaked information to the orc spies that Carvos's armies would be in a different location. So the orcs went after that location, and Carvos decided to attack their home, Golvathar, again, presence in the Shattered God, where there were families and children. There's no military presence. They're just totally swallowed. They're just totally slaughtered. The orcs then turn their attention to Dunhollow. There was a child. Nathaniel Carvos had a child, possibly stolen, maybe given up willingly to him. And as the orcs tried to steal Nathaniel's child, his wife attacked them in defense and was killed. So Nathaniel came back to his home to find his wife dead, murdered, and his child missing. So this kind of leads Nathaniel Carvos on this path. So much bloodshed that it caught the attention of the old gods, Dravos, the god of war, and Nizara, especially the goddess of death. This is when he chose an orcish name, the bringer of death, Nixrath, and became the god of chaos. So at the end of the story, Raish explains, I understand this is a long story, I think it's relevant. At the end of the story, Raish explains that there was a Veil Moon ritual to banish Nixrath between realms. However, at the end of the Shattered God, again, go back and watch it, our characters became the new gods. And in doing that, in reshaping the shattered Arendor, right, Echo, who Jen played, wished for everyone who was shattered to come back into a form of their choosing. And Nathaniel Carvos came back wishing to be mortal. Raish gives this piece of advice to Dipper, says, if he tells you to do something and you don't wish to do it, you have the power to say no. And as Ghost confirmed in our previous interview today, Nixrath is not Nixrath, but Nathaniel Carvos, the mortal who he once was, is a source or is connected to Dipper's powers. And Dipper also relates to him, right? You can go back and watch that episode. There's this relation between, they both lost a child. Dipper empathizes with that. And again, this is not necessarily Nixrath that returned, but Nathaniel Carvos. So it's a long story. I didn't expect it to be that long to explain. Basically, we learn that Nixrath returned as Nathaniel Carvos at the end of the reshaping of Arendor by the new gods, and that he's probably almost definitely the one connected to Dipper's powers. Long story. Short.
Yes. It is a much longer story if you wanted to watch The Shattered God and watch those one shots, the Watchfire at Carvos Keep, I think. Yeah, so Carvos Keep. But yeah, so Nathaniel, him coming back as his mortal form, one little point I just kind of want to add here is that this person was still the person that was brutal in the war, that was known for his brutality. So he's still not like super good. It's just that, he's not quite as evil as he was as the Shattered God. So there's still that kind of like, oh, well, I want to know what he wants, you know?
Me too.
Like, does he want to try to find like his descendant through his child, you know? But that's a different story, a different day. But yeah, I don't like how Ghost is making me feel bad for that.
I thought that was really relevant, especially to the archive, because this is sorry, because this is a moment that like his past, like this is information, a story, a person that has passed through down this line and this progression of the world of Arendor. So I thought that was relevant. And now we have this connection to Dipper. So I think it's very interesting. We talked a lot about Dipper and Dipper's connections so far this episode.
Yeah. Lots of lore. I think it was good to cover all of that.
And very briefly, I just want to mention that in the cold open, of course, of Team One's most recent session, there is essentially the lore of the trident. This trident was called the Kingdom's Keeper. It was created by Baku Stonehands, who took it upon himself to reunite a kingdom, oceans, through the Empire's destruction, and ultimately could not save them. And it's about recovering that trident. My character M does this, and there's definitely a story behind there that I'm wondering if it may come up later, as the trident is imbued with the power of Raziel, the old god of the Tempest. And so maybe a relic that comes up in the future. So I think it's worth mentioning. But again, like we've said, please go watch the cold open. It turned out to be a hot open, really longest cold open we've had.
My favorite part of that was whenever M made that promise. And if you want to know what I'm talking about, go watch the episode. I just have a feeling that some of this is going to come back up again as Oathfire continues.
At least I feel a little more prepared, having gone over it in more detail.
I guess we'll have to wait and see how far that preparedness actually gets us. But for now, we're going to go under the table for another interview with some of the cast of Oathfire.
So, why was Shurian in his last year at Military Academy sent to find the old ones? Like, you'd think they knew,
right?
Yeah.
It's a little suspicious that they would happen to send someone who might be. I didn't when I originally conceived it. I promise I'll get there. It'll be a little bit roundabout. But like, we don't really know a lot about Corvallis, right? And one of the things I like about Daggerheart is that the players are allowed to contribute to the world building. So I didn't want to change anything about Corvallis, because you've got you've got some history, you've got Carvos, right? You've got all these kind of like important things going on, but I felt like I could add some depth to it a little bit. So I've been watching a lot of old kind of historical drama, like Last Kingdom, which is about the Viking invasions of England, and it's like the main character's an Anglo-Saxon. But anyway, so I've been kind of really interested in this idea of English history, where you had the Celts, and over multiple time periods they've had these kind of like people come in and kind of take over and change their culture, and I thought that would be a cool thing to kind of add to Corvallis. So I wanted to have this idea of these humans that were not the Corvallians that we know now, that the Corvallians we know they're industrial. They are industrial people. They build war machines. And there are as far as I know, in the rest of the world, there aren't really any other human nations that are
have any like redemptive qualities about them. So I was like, okay, well, let's add something to this where there are these kind of peoples that have kind of, they're either the Corvallians merged, had to change because they live in this world of magic and they don't really have a lot of magic, and so they had to give up their spiritual nature, the nature where they are more in balance with the world in order to survive. So it was a devil's bargain that they had to make at some point in their history. And so that's something that the current ruling class doesn't want to get out. So it's a double, for them sending off Sheridan to an incredibly dangerous mission where he most likely would get killed, and probably they were expecting him to die, but also takes care of these old ones because they're trying to suppress these people and these ideas that were in there. So I just wanted to add some depth to the background of Corvallis. It may or may never come up, and that's fine. But that's the cool thing about Daggerheart, especially, is that you can we all have our own worlds that are the world, our section of the world building that we get to contribute to it. So that's the kind of thing the layer that I wanted to add to it.
Okay, what did you think about the cold open? Other than the story being longer than you anticipated, how do you think it went?
It really...
Was it about how you thought it would go,
Yes and no. I've been really getting into playing Geen. I actually imagine, and I was talking to Sage about this recently. I'm like, when I play Geen, I think like him. I imagine every scene through his eyes. So being on the boat during the storm and talking to the people, I tried to put myself in his boots and interact with Ghost's world the best way I can and role play myself as a pirate, essentially. But Geen is different from myself personality wise because he's more bold and more brave, because that's his life. I think TTRPGs really help us as people build different social and character abilities on, at least for us, to develop in the real world. Or at least for me. Maybe because I'm just kind of like a shut-in, but no.
Me too, for sure.
I put myself on the ship and I did the best I could as a captain and as a role player to take hold of the situation. And I loved it. I didn't expect it to take most of the session, which is awesome. I agree. I still think about that session.
Thank you. Now time for Aaron's questions.
Bring it.
All right. So your speech.
Mm-hmm.
Team 1 session. Well, was there inspiration for it? Like outside world, in game, whichever?
It was very much in game. And like I said a little bit earlier, I wanted to say something. Like I needed the way I'm looking at it, and I think I've kind of hinted at it in other conversations we've had, but Shurian has grown up in a world where people are constantly hiding secrets from him. Almost every interaction is a favor rather than a genuine gift. And suddenly he's, even despite the unhinged situation of them being wanted for a murder of an emperor and having all these other problems going all on the same time, he's been ripped out of his context. And when that happens to you, you get to sort of a moment to reinvent your identity. And it can be a painful process, but it can also be a productive process. And the way I looked at it was he had a lot of stuff that he just needed to get out, and he did never had that safe space. Again, when you fight in a battle like that together, you're naturally going to bond. You're naturally going to start to trust each other, and so he just finally had the place to let it all out. And the whistles were his way of showing thank you for listening to my TED talk. Like, you know what I mean? Like, thank you.
Here's your party favors on the way out.
You're cool. But yeah, but seriously, like that's what it was, is like, I wanted to say, just, it doesn't, like, he doesn't know what the future is going to be. Nobody does.
Yeah.
He might die. He might not become the king. He might become the king. There's just so many different ways that could go. But for that moment, he had an opportunity he's probably never said those things to himself. He's probably been hiding from those things in his head.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it was just a place to get it out. And to now, it's like one of the things that I very intentionally wrote was, you brought me back. And that was intentional because now the way I'm looking at Shurian is, now that he's dealt with that baggage, he has the opportunity to rebuild himself and his identity, and to either forge himself into the king of Corvallis or something else, depending on what's happening. But he's kind of like moved on. And that's what the point of that is. Like, we can all have backstories, but at some point, like, we have to play the game that we're actually in, and we have to be in the story that we're in. So if you let the backstory dominate you too much, you're not really there in the moment. And I wanted to get past that point early on, but at the right time. And that was the perfect opportunity, and you all gave it to me. So yeah. My question for Fargrim about Geen.
Mm-hmm.
Look, Jurian, Mist, probably Halim. The circumstances we are in right now are not normal. It's not a normal situation for us. We are all quietly freaking out, and it's coming out subtly for some of us, and more visibly for others. For Geen, this whole thing feels like just another Tuesday for him, right? Like, he's just he has the whole time, he has been the eye, the eye in the storm, the calm in the storm, the entire time. It's like, I don't think I've seen him be fazed by anything. So my question is what would it take for Geen to actually visibly look like he's shaken? What do you think it would take for him to feel like, no, we're in danger? Like, I don't think I've seen that. And I want to know, is it something that Geen is feeling, or he's used to, and there's something else that would take him to get to that point? Like, I just want to I want to understand where he's at with that, because he's like, yeah, let's just look like here's juice and bam, 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 bam,
gun blazing all the time,
which is good.
Mm-hmm.
We need a person like that in the party, or we're all like, like,
right.
You know what I mean? But I want to know I want to know how it would, or what it would take for it to come out.
Geen is truly terrified of one thing and one thing only. But we did talk about the traveling circus.
Yeah.
Which is a very traumatic part of his life. I shared the bubble story with you all through the hallucinogenic tea. Mm-hmm. But I shared that story with Shurian to create a bond, so to speak. Something from his past.
Honestly, after every session of Oathfire, I walk away with more and more questions. I know that there is so much more to this story that's just hiding beneath the surface. It's actually part of the reason that I love hosting Tabling the Narrative with you, because we get to unpack so much of the story that's not necessarily told directly.
I completely agree. And by the end of every podcast episode we do, like now, I definitely know more than when I came into it with. It always leaves me with that I can't wait type of mood for our next Oathfire session.
And for our next Tabling the Narrative episode after that. But before we get to what's next, let's wrap up today's episode of Tabling the Narrative with a big thank you to everyone watching or listening.
Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you soon.
Okay, bye.